Welcome to navigating the AKKPS registration system. I'm Kathy Peterson. I'm your AKKPS registrar. I am one of the original founders, and along with Matt Burton and Christopher Raleigh, we set up the programs and processes that you'll be learning more about in this seminar. Caroline Malott, the president of AKKPS, and possibly I, will be available to answer questions after the seminar as well in another meeting. Okay, well, let's get started. We are going to start with understanding registrations. Here we go. In front of me is an AKKPS registration. It is the official document for all registrations with AKKPS. At the very top, you will see the name GMF Route 6 Matthew. That is the official registered name. The registration number always starts with AKKPS. 0035 would not tell you what organization it is. So it's very important that it has AKKPS in front of it. Then, of course, you go to your date of birth. The ID. The ID is your permanent identification for each animal. It can be a tattoo, an ear tag, or a microchip number. If it is a tattoo, usually it'll have the words tattoo in front of it. If it is an ear tag, normally it will have the ear tag number in front of it. And if it is a microchip, it just has the number. Underneath that, you will see the coefficient of inbreeding. And if we skip over to the right-hand side is the sex, the number of wattles that animal has, the color, and then DNA case number. It's important to know where that DNA case number is because you will need that for DNA entry. The rest of it is the ancestry of that particular animal or pedigree. So let's talk about terminology. Understanding terminology will help you get through this process easier. So you hear people say call names. That is a name that you call your animal every day. That is added to the end of a registration. If you notice, Matthew was at the end of the one that I just showed you. That is his call name. Registered names are assigned by the registrar, and that is the same on the registration certificate, and it is the same in the herd book. A registered name is consisting of the breeder's farm name, plus the bloodline of the animal, plus the number of piglets that have been produced by that breeder of that bloodline. And then the call name is added at the end once it's registered. For DNA purposes, instead of the farm name, we use a prefix. So it would be the prefix of the breeder plus the bloodline plus the production number. On DNA entries, as you'll see as we go further into this series, no call name should ever be added to the DNA entry. And the reason being is call names sometimes change, but the registered name assigned on your litter notification never will. Okay, now we're going to find out how piglets are named. And a lot of that is kind of what we just went over, but I did want to show it to you. This will be available in help guides if you ever want to refer back to it. So again, it is the breeder's farm name plus the bloodline plus the production number. And then a call name is added only during the piglet registration process. For the DNA, you do the breeder's prefix plus the bloodline plus the production number, but never the call name. In the herd book, it will always show the breeder's name. So prefixes are only for DNA purposes, and that is because there is a limited amount of characters that'll fit in there. Now that you know what your registration's like, we're going to get into the litter notification email and how to do your litter notification. So we're going to need to go to AKKPS. It's always suggested that you log into the website in case you haven't paid your membership dues. You want to make sure you get advantages of the discounted rates by being a member. So by logging in, if you need to renew your membership before you submit any registrations, you can do that by clicking on this blue button at the top with the person. Okay, So the registration forms are all on different pages, which is sometimes very helpful. So let's go to litter notifications. Okay. On this page, it will give you all kinds of help guides before you actually get to the form. It tells you what you need to have in front of you. You need the sire's registration in front of you, the dam's registration in front of you, a list of all the piglets born, and the date of birth. Okay. When you're entering your litter notification, we always ask that you put all the males together and then all the females. So you would put male, 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 female, 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 instead of male, female, male, female. It makes it easier for the registration process. Okay, so you can see in the examples here, there is a really good thing here that tells you exactly what to put in every blank. Okay, so you pick whether you're a member or not. Then you put your full name in. You put your email address and your farm name. Your prefix is assigned by AKKPS during your first litter notification. If this is your first litter notification, for your prefix, you would put new. If you have a prefix, it's listed in your profile. So by logging in, you get to see what your prefix is again, and that can be helpful to refresh your memory. Then you enter the date of the piglet's birth. Recently, I saw a question, what to do if part of your litter is born before midnight and part of your litter is born after midnight. That is up to you. Some breeders choose to do it when the first piglet's born. Some people use when it's finished. So that's really up to you. So you put in the sire's registration number, and you always put the AKKPS in front of it. Then the sire's registered name, and that would be as it appears on the registration or in the herd book. The dam's registration number, again, AKKPS is the beginning of the registration number. Then the dam's registered name. Are any of the pigs belted, banded, or high percentage white? If you don't understand what the colors are, there is a wonderful color chart under the help guides. Then you want to list if any of them are. You would put piglet number 1, 4, 7, whatever piglet number it is that is belted, banded, or high percentage white. We classify all of those in a parentheses with a capital B. Okay, then you would enter the individual piglet's information, whether it's a male, what color it is, and how many wattles it is. Then you would click continue, and once you've entered all of them, and then you would go ahead and pay for that. Some of the information that we went over, in case you forget, is also located on this page, along with a nice visual guide for entering DNA. Most common mistakes in DNA errors, we're going to go over that as well. So in your litter notification, you're going to get an email from me that gives you a couple of quick tips. And then here is where all the information is located that you're going to use to enter your DNA. So make sure you print that out and have it handy for when you enter your DNA. Okay, we're going to start on the DNA process. There are numerous help guides available on the AKKPS website. You can find them underneath the litter notification right here. They are individually attached to your litter notification email. You can also go over to Help Guides, DNA, and you will see instructions for how to log in if you need a new account. And here again is the DNA. So we're going to go over to the UC Davis. You do not want to do a pig genetic markers permanent file test form. You want to do the pig parentage verification form. You want to click your affiliation, which is KPS. If you are doing it with 2 registries, but you are registering with AKKPS first, make sure we're at the top so you're assigned a KPS case number. If you've been using the other registry, then you may want to switch, put them at the bottom and put us at the top. Okay, so you enter the date of birth, you mark that it is a KuneKunes, and then you can begin your entries. So let's say my prefix is ABC. This is a Mejia Love number 10. We want to put the AKKPS part of the registration number here. Always include AKKPS. This is a male piglet, and maybe this is a ginger black piglet. I always put a comma and I enter the wattles as well. This is where you can put a microchip and you just put the number. If it's an ear tag, I put ET and whatever that is. If it was a tattoo number, you just put T and whatever it is. Then we move on to the next animal, which would be 11 if it was a male piglet. And then we enter the registration number, male, and maybe this is brown and white with 0 bottles. And this is a tattoo. And then you would continue with each and every piglet that you have. Okay, you can add more if there's not enough spaces available. For this, it's really important that you do not hit this add sire, sample and payment. That means you want to re-DNA your piglet. I mean, your adult, your male, and you don't want to do that. It's already been done as it is already registered. So you want to enter the name and registration and the VGL case number. So this is where Matthew would go, or any other, it would be a Mejia Love boar. Then I would want to put the AKKPS number and then the KPS DNA case number or whatever DNA case number it may have. And then you would repeat that process for the dam. Put the AKKPS number. And then maybe this one starts with an NCS number, which is fine too. You remember you can get that right off of your registration. Okay. Then I would have to click on the terms and conditions and click save. Being a member of AKKPS, you do save on your lab fees. They're $31 with a discount. Okay. There are some common mistakes that I'd like to go over with you that most people make, and that's forgetting to put the AKKPS in front of the registration number. I can't tell you how important that is. So put AKKPS and then the numbers. Another thing that some people make mistakes on is they include a call name like Henry or Penelope, Henry, Tammy, any of those. That's a call name. We don't put those on our DNA because they could change and that would cause a mismatch later. Okay, don't put your whole farm name because there is a limited number of characters available when you get parentage reports back, and you don't want to cut off any part of that name. So using your prefix helps that and not the whole farm name. In the herd book, if you're using the herd book, you will notice there is a P behind the registration number. That means it's pending registration. And if you put that on the report, where we were entering right here, let me show you. So if you put that here, okay, later when that Mejia Love number 10 is apparent, it could confuse somebody thinking that it was never registered. So do not put that P behind there. There are instructions on how to use the herd book if you want, right here. if you want to use the herd book instead of the litter notification, it reminds you don't put that P in there. That is only for the herd book. And that way, people who are interested in buying an animal can tell if it's registered or just litter notified. Well, that concludes our entering DNA. Remember, attached to your litter notification is a copy of the terminology, how to use the herd book instead of a litter notification, the DNA help guide that gives you every step that you will need, and it also tells you how to avoid the common DNA errors. So that concludes our DNA. We're going to talk about pet registrations. Some people, even though they're not going to be breeding their pets, your buyer may enjoy getting a pedigree in the mail or by email. Seeing that official document that they have a purebred animal is sometimes important to your buyer. So if so, for a pet registration, you do not have to do DNA. DNA is not required, but permanent identification is. You will need to tattoo, ear tag, or microchip a pet in order to get it registered. On the AKKPS website, there again is a help guide that tells you every step of the way how to do this, what these blanks mean, and what to put in there. Okay, so we're actually going to look at the online piglet registration. So you would select if you're a member in the US or a non-member in the US. Canada, you would click whether you want it by mail or email, whether you're a member or not a member. You would enter the registration number, which of course we know starts with AKKPS. The registered name as given on the litter notification. The call name. Your buyers have picked a name that they want to call the pig, like Timothy. You could put you need to put the sire's registered name here, the dam's registered name. Your name is the breeder, because only the breeder can do a pet registration, or later change it from a pet registration. Your email address, your farm name, what method you have used for permanently identifying the animal, whether it's a microchip, a tattoo, or an ear tag. What number that is, the number of wattles, the color, whether it's belted or banded or high percentage white. And then this is where you would put in the new owners. So you would put the new owner's name there, and their address and their email address, especially if you want it emailed registration. Any special comments that you want me to know about. Then you would click continue, and that will take you over to PayPal, and then you pay. And then it is sent right over to me. Processing on pet registrations or any registrations is 2 to 4 weeks. That concludes our pet registration section. Now we're going to move over to a piglet registration. Okay, so a piglet registration is found on the AKKPS website. You click on piglet registration. On that page, it's going to tell you what you need. You need a copy of your litter notification email that has already been sent to you. We do recommend that you don't use the herd book, but if you remember to follow those instructions, you can use the herd book. You need a copy of the DNA report from UC Davis to upload on the piglet registration. Again, as with all of our pages, there's an example that tells you exactly what you need to do on every single blank. Those guides can be really, really helpful. So let's go to an online piglet registration. Again, you're going to pick the option whether you're in the US, you're a member, you're not a member. You want it sent by email, you want it sent by mail. For Canadians, That is deemed by the amount that you pay, because they do pay a little bit more because their mailing is more. Then you're going to enter the piglet's registration number, always starting with AKKPS, and then whatever the litter notification name is for that particular animal. Did either parent change from the parents that you gave me on the litter notification? The breeder's email address, the breeder's name, farm name, what your prefix is, the number of wattles of this piglet, the color of this piglet. Is it belted, banded, or high percentage white? The ID method that you chose, whether it's a microchip, a tattoo, or an ear tag number. And where it says DNA results, this is where you upload the official report that you received by email from UC Davis. We do not accept screenshots. A lot of people will try to give us screenshots, and we can't take those. We need the actual physical lab report. And if you look at the DNA help guide, that will show you exactly what we're looking for. And you upload that into that blank. Now, your buyer may have picked a name, a call name, and you would type that in here. A lot of people will try to give me a farm name for registering an animal. I must have a person's name, not a farm name. And then I would need their complete mailing address, email address, and any notes or special, things that I should know about registering this particular animal. Maybe the sire changed, and that'd be a great heads up for me. Not required, but it is nice. You put sire changed, or any other special notes that you might have on that. Okay, well, that concludes our piglet registration process. Now we're going to move over to a transfer of ownership. And let's talk about the transfer of ownership. Number one, it's going to take 2 to 4 weeks for you to receive it back. If you pick email, it's usually faster because, of course, if you mail it, you do have to wait for that mail to come in. Now, there's different requirements depending on who you are. If you are the seller, all you have to do is complete the form. If you are the new owner, you must upload a signed copy of the original registration certificate. Somewhere on there has to be the seller, the registered owner, signature. Okay, you can do it by mail or online. We're going to take a look at the online form. This is the transfer of ownership, and it reminds you up here. So yes, registration certificate will show I am the owner. You do not need to upload anything. No, uploaded, signed copy of the registration certificate. If you do not do that, you will get an email from me telling you, all right, I need it. I have to have their signature in order for an owner to transfer to themselves. Here you would click the correct member, whether you're in the US, you're a member, you're not a member. The current owner, the current owner's email address, their farm name. And again, here's a little reminder of what we do need if you are the new owner and not the seller. Here's where you would upload the form with the signature, the registration certificate. Then you would enter the registration number, the registered name, and the call name. Excuse me. If this animal has not ever had babies, you can change the call name. If the animal has had any babies, even one, you cannot change it. Then you would enter who is going to be the new owner, their name, not a farm name, but a person's name, and their address. The new owner's email address, the date that they took ownership. the date that they physically took that animal from you, from your farm, from where you met up, or transporter picked them up. That's the date that would go there. And then, of course, any special comments that you might have for me. And that concludes the transfer of ownership. So now we're going to talk about a dual registration. So you've been using another organization and you want to come over to AKKPS, or you're trying to dual register. Okay, so you want to do a dual registration form. And you would find that under the dual registrations. Again, 2 to 4 weeks for processing. It tells you what you need to have in front of you. This is very important. We need a copy of the original registration from another registry. It cannot be a screenshot of their herd book. It must be the original registration certificate. Like all of our other pages, here's some information that tells you, what the form looks like and how to do it. It tells you on here, only registration certificates accepted, no herd book screenshots. You would be amazed at how many people do it. I cannot accept them. AKKPS will not allow it. Okay, let's click on the online dual registration form so that we can see it. Again, here's some important notes that you might want to bring up, read over. If you haven't checked to see if it's in the herd book, that's sometimes a good idea because it may already be in there. So, is this animal showing in your name? If the animal is not registered to you on the registration certificate, you cannot enter the dual registration. It must be done by the registered owner. So again, you select your category, whether you're a member or not, whether you want it by email or mail, your full name, your full mailing address, especially important to put that here in case it is different than what the other organization had on their form. Your email address, the pig's official registration name. And let me mention, sometimes it does happen, we're coming between two registries, that the name has to be changed. AKKPS is really good about trying to keep it the same unless that animal has already been litter notified with us, but not yet registered. Meaning they did a litter notification and they never registered it. They registered it with a different organization. So you may have an Andrew 3 with one organization and an Andrew 1 with our organization. That gets very confusing. And that's the reason they really recommend only doing litter notifications with one or the other company and then dueling for the other. That helps eliminate name changes. Okay, so this is the registration name, what you have given them as the call name. Is it belted, banded, or high percentage white? And again, it reminds you, no herd book screenshots. Any special comments that you may have to alert me. This would be great if you typed in already in herd book under AKKPS, whatever that number might be. That's very helpful information. Or if it's in the herd book because it's a pedigree in a pedigree, but it's not registered with us, you can also put that in there if you like. And you just put no registration number in under whatever name. Okay, well, that concludes our dual registration section. Now, a lot of times that you will have questions and not know who to go to. I did want to take the time to show you. You have a director that is assigned to the region, each region in the state, in the United States and in Canada, that represents you on the board. And that is your go-to person for you having questions. Okay, you can look at the map here, or you can see the individuals listed under here. Their AKKPS email addresses will be listed on here as well. But we ask that you fill out this form, okay? And it's a contact your director form. And that is the primary way to contact your director if you should have questions. It's the same thing with the AKKPS registrar. Okay, so if you go into AKKPS positions, you'll see my picture and my name there. You would click on contact the registrar form. It's also available in several other places, but we kind of did this to save time so that I can spend that time processing your registrations. If you fill out this form, it's going to prompt you to give me the information that I need on first contact, instead of me sending back emails asking, what's the AKKPS number? What's the name? This gives us all the information that we need. It also tells you, if you're having other issues, if you read through there, it tells you who you should be contacting. So using the contact the registrar form is very helpful. AKKPS has put out a lot of information and a lot of help guides that are available on the website. There's a color chart, litter notification help guides, the DNA help guides, registration help guides, the herd book help guides, permanent identification help guides. There's a lot of information there if you utilize it. That concludes our video sessions. I hope that you enjoyed it and that you learned something new. And keep in mind that there are people here to help you if you have further questions. Never hesitate to contact us. Thank you very much and have a great day.